History of Dark Age 2, Episode 8, The Hollow Star. Prologue, A Dawn Without Sun. There was no light. Only the sensation of it, like the memory of a flame once held, now buried beneath layers of frost and silence. In the realm beyond the spiral horizon, where Aldric and his companions had cast the concordant seed, the world they entered was not built of stone or starlight. It was built of echoes. The echoes of choices never made. Mountains hung upside down in the sky, tethered by cords of light stretched too thin. Rivers flowed upward into clouds made of breath. Every tree, every pebble, every gust of wind whispered names that had never been spoken. Aldric awoke in a forest of bone-pale trees with no roots. The ground beneath him was warm, not from sunlight, but from remembrance. His root veins glowed dully, pulsing like a heartbeat beneath his skin. One by one, the others woke. Sabrine, pale and still wrapped in the last warmth of shared memory. Kalen, his wings half-formed, flickering between metal and mist. Evelyn, crouched in silence, blades drawn, eyes tracking every movement in this place where time refused to settle. Brockries was already pacing. Wherever we are, he growled, it's built by something older than rules. The sky cracked, and from it fell not rain, but shattered star ink, staining the ground in streaks of forgotten constellations. Above them all loomed something massive. A hollow star, floating like a dying god's eye, pulsing with slow light and low, seismic hums. Its heart was open. Waiting. Watching. Chapter 1, The City Beneath the Hollow Star. They saw it from the ridge of Unston Cliffs. A city stitched from dream remnants and bone glass, sprawling in impossible spirals beneath the pulsing void light of the hollow star. Its towers resembled inverted spines, its gates gaped like yawning mouths. Roads moved, not with wind, but with intention, realigning themselves as if responding to unseen command. Above it all, suspended in the hollow of the great star, was a citadel made of darkened obsidian and living glyphs, turning slowly in the gravity of forgotten gods. Aldric exhaled. This place, it's not a city. It's a heart. Sabrine stepped beside him. A heart still beating. Kalen narrowed his gaze. I've seen that symbol before, he said, pointing to a burning sigil etched into the citadel's spires. It resembled a spiral nested within a serpent's eye. It was on the shattered mural beneath the Temple of Teeth. Brockry spat. Whatever rules this place, if it's still alive. We're in its body now. The descent was not simple. Paths bent sideways. Gravity looped in half-remembered ways. Time hung in pockets. They passed through zones where they could hear themselves breathing in reverse, where colors whispered, and stone took on the texture of silk. Evelyn once touched a wall and screamed. It showed her every lie she'd ever told in a chorus of overlapping voices. Then they crossed the threshold of the city proper. And everything went still. No wind. No time. No sound, except a voice that was not a voice, whispering directly into their bones. You are not the first. You are not the last. But you are loud. They looked up. A figure waited in the center of the plaza, tall, faceless, wrapped in a cloak that bled light into shadow. Its name came unbidden into Aldric's mouth. The Witness in Reversal. It raised one finger. And all around them, the city woke up. Statues turned. Gates folded into themselves. The ground unfurled like a scroll written in screams. Aldric's map glowed, vines coiling in alarm. Sabrine readied her blade. And above them, in the sky where no sun should rise, the hollow star blinked. Chapter 2, The Witness in Reversal. It stood without breath. Without stance. As if the moment had simply gathered itself into the shape of a figure. The Witness in Reversal wore a cloak stitched from the negative of light, its folds filled with backwards echoes and fractured timelines. Where its face should have been, a polished disc reflected not those who looked upon it, but the versions of themselves that never were. Aldric met its gaze and saw a man crowned in ashen silence. Are you what rules this city? He asked, voice rough. No, the Witness replied, though its mouth never moved. I am what watches it unravel. They stood in the center of a cathedral plaza, the stones beneath their feet glowing faintly with the weight of unspoken choices. The surrounding towers leaned closer, listening. You have passed the gate of ends, the witness said. You carry the seed. You have trespassed upon the anatomy of a dying reality. Kaelin stepped forward. Then why not end us? The witness tilted its head. Because your story is still being told. And in this realm, story is more dangerous than war. The city began to hum, a deep harmonic tone resonating through the marrow. The hollow star is not a beacon, the witness said. It is a sieve. And the world you knew is already bleeding through it. Brockries gripped his axe tighter. Then what's the price of survival? The witness extended a hand. From its palm grew a single vine made of ink. Twisting. Flickering. Memory. Surrender a memory you cannot live without. And the path will open. Aldric hesitated. If I give it, is it gone? The witness nodded once. Yes. But what you receive in return may be worse. Sabrine's hand brushed his. Don't. We find another way. But Aldric already knew. He stepped forward and touched the vine. A flash of green fire surged up his arm, and with it, a gasp. He remembered Sabrine's face, once, beneath the stars. Then it was gone. And the road beyond the witness uncurled, lined with statues of themselves, dying, burning, ascending, weeping. The hollow star pulsed above. Watching. Recording. Remembering for those who no longer could. Chapter 3, The Labyrinth of Forgotten Kings. The path behind the witness led not into a hall, but into a maze carved from silence and thrones. Walls of black basalt and bone glass twisted around them, each corridor illuminated by memory flame, pale blue torches that sparked to life only when passed. As the companions moved, the flames mirrored their heartbeat, faster when they feared, slower when they spoke the truth. At every junction stood a throne. Not empty. Each held a king, or something that had once ruled. Some were corpses wrapped in gold leaf. Others were whispering suits of armor filled with cinders. One was a pulsating root ball wearing a crown of teeth. Above each throne, an inscription shimmered into view. I ruled what I could not hold. I burned my name to keep my bloodline. I saw the end and drank it gladly. Kaelin recoiled at the third. These aren't kings. These are confessions. They are warnings, Euphoria murmured. The labyrinth forces you to confront the shape of your destiny, before you're ready to wear it. Brockry swung his axe at a mirror throne and shattered it, but the dust coalesced into another reflection. Aldric stopped before a cracked obsidian chair. On it, a carved figure slumped, a man covered in vines, his arms outstretched, holding nothing. He leaned in to read the words etched at its feet. I mapped the future, but lost the way home. Sabrine took his hand. They're all you, she whispered. No, he said. They're what I could become, if I forget why I began. As they pressed deeper, the labyrinth began to shift. Walls rotated. Echoes folded in on themselves. They walked past thrones they had already passed. Time had begun to unravel in lazy circles. Then, Evelyn screamed. A throne near her was empty. But in the air above it floated her name, glowing. And from the stone beneath her feet, roots burst upward, grasping, remembering her wrong. Aldric shouted, "Run!" But it was too late. The thrones were no longer silent. They began to speak. Chapter 4, Thrones that Speak in Hunger. The sound was not speech. It was the memory of being obeyed. Dozens of thrones groaned and shivered. From hollow mouths, rusted tongues of gold unspooled, dragging syllables across the floor like chains. The names carved above the seats began to melt, running down the obsidian like blood made of ink. And from the empty throne bearing Evelyn's name, a voice rose. Bladeborn. Flame-marked. You were meant to kneel. She drew her daggers. I was meant to end you. From the shadows behind the throne slithered a figure, vaguely humanoid, but stretched impossibly long. Its limbs were jointless, wrapped in royal robes that slithered behind it like parasites. Its face was a blank silver mask, mirroring Evelyn's expression exactly. "Welcome, heir of betrayal," it hissed. "Your throne remembers you. Even if you wish to forget it." Kaelin fired a bolt of radiant light. It passed through the figure, shattering one of the flaming mirrors. But the creature only laughed. "Every time you refuse your title, we feast." The other thrones joined in, a symphony of whispered prophecy and rotting pride. "Kneel. Kneel. Kneel." Aldric stepped forward, his map glowing white-hot beneath his skin. "She will never kneel." He struck the ground with his palm. The root light burst outward in rings, igniting the truth beneath the labyrinth. The floor split. Stone gave way to tangled memory roots and ghost fire. The throne creatures shrieked as light poured from the breach, peeling away their illusions. Underneath, they were nothing, just ideas worn too long, ghosts of power undone. Evelyn stood in the light. Her daggers burned like fallen stars. She did not speak. She climbed her own throne, then shattered it beneath her boots. The maze reeled. The remaining thrones wailed and cracked like glass beneath pressure. And at the center of it all stood the next gate. A massive doorway formed not of stone, but of vows. Each one written in blood. Each one waiting to be broken. Chapter 5, The Door of Broken Vows. It stood at the heart of the crumbling maze, not built, but remembered into existence, a towering structure woven from shreds of ancient oaths, wedding veils, banners, and burnt contracts. Each fragment pulsed faintly with memory. Some whispered. Some screamed. Some simply bled ink that evaporated on the air like morning. The door of broken vows towered higher than any cathedral, its hinges made from fused rings and skeletal keys. Sabrine reached toward it, and immediately recoiled. "It knows what I swore," she whispered. "It knows what I broke." "No one passes through it clean," said Euphoria quietly. "To enter, we must offer a vow we've never spoken aloud. And then, let it die." Brockry scoffed. "I swore to bury my past. I'll swear it again." He stepped forward and drove his blade into the base of the door. A low sound, like a funeral bell choked by roots, rippled through the stone. Then the door answered in a voice older than nations. "You may not offer what you've already buried. Choose again." Brockry's froze. Aldric touched the door with one bare hand. It burned. Not with fire, but grief. He turned to the others. "It wants what we've never dared to say." Sabrine stepped forward first. Her voice shook. "I vowed to kill the man who killed my brother. But the truth is, I vowed I would become him. And I liked what it made me." A thread of light was pulled from her throat, woven into the door. A crack appeared. Kaelin followed. "I vowed to serve the light. But I've always been afraid it would never come. That I was chasing a lie. And I loved the chase." Another seemed fractured, glowing. Evelyn stood silently. Then said, "I vowed never to kneel. But I still dream of someone who'd ask me to." The door didn't judge. It opened. Slowly. Groaning. Like a memory being forced to breathe again. And beyond it, a bridge of fractured starlight. Spanning a chasm that pulsed like the throat of the hollow star itself. Across it, they saw only fog. And shapes moving in the mist. One of them looked like Aldric. The other looked like none of them had ever been born. Chapter 6, The Bridge That Remembers You. It was not made of stone, nor of wood or bone. The bridge that remembers you was formed from strands of suspended time, each filament glowing faintly, trembling beneath the weight of what might have been. Every footstep upon it did not echo outward, but inward, into the memories of the walker. As Aldric set foot on the bridge, a ripple pulsed outward. He saw not sky, not fog, but scenes suspended in the mist on either side, visions of the paths he never walked. A child in a temple, refusing the map. A farmer, carving words into trees. A king, drunk on prophecy and alone in a throne of vines. They were all him. Sabrine followed. Her fog shimmered into a field of broken arrows and white poppies. A young girl in black held a torch, one she never passed on. "Is this regret?" she asked. "No," said Ethoria behind her. "This is reminder." Kalen's wings twitched, his feathers falling into the void below. In the mist, he saw himself with burned eyes, reaching for stars that collapsed into dust. "I thought I had no choices," he murmured. "Every path leaves a scar," Evelyn said. "You're just meeting the ones you didn't earn." Halfway across, the bridge sang, a soft, harmonic pulse. The mists parted. Ahead stood a figure in a mirrored cloak. Another Aldric. But this one wore no vines. His tattoos were burned black. His eyes hollowed. The seed of concord glowed in his chest, but it pulsed erratically. He raised a hand. Behind him rose a gate made of clockwork and roots, rotating slowly in infinite symbols. "I am the version of you that chose silence," he said. "I am the map that erased its bearer. You do not belong here." Aldric stepped forward. "Then try and stop me." The other smiled, a crack in glass. From his back, wings unfolded. Not of feathers, but of memories sharpened into blades. The bridge shivered. And the hollow star beat once more. Like a heart remembering its first betrayal. Chapter 7, The War of Two Selves. The wind froze. The bridge sagged under the weight of a paradox, two Aldrics, two stories, two futures irreconcilable in the same breath. The mirrored Aldric stepped forward, his blade drawn, not metal, but a sliver of burning potential, coiled with unchosen paths. "You are unfinished," he said. "I am what you would be if you stopped asking questions. If you chose purpose without doubt." Aldric clenched his fists. His map tattoos flared, pulsing with living starlight. "No. You're what I become when I let the map lead me, when I forget who made it." They clashed. Not in swordplay alone, but in memory, vision, and will. Each blow echoed with a different version of Aldric's life. A child locked in the library of ash, studying until his tears blurred runes. A warlord with no name, his skin flayed into script by followers who worshipped the pain. A monk who burned every map he ever found, and lived in silence atop the world's last tree. Each step of the battle transformed the bridge. The mists became glimpses, not illusions, but rejected truths. The others could only watch. Sabrine's grip on her blade trembled. "If he loses..." "He won't," said Evelyn. "He knows now. The map isn't his fate. It's his mirror." The mirrored Aldric bled ink, not blood. His wounds spilled forgotten paths, blank-eyed memories that clawed at the real Aldric's arms. "You're weak," the doppelganger spat. "You hesitate. You love." Aldric's voice was low, but unshakable. "Yes. And that's why I remember." He drove his palm into the doppelganger's chest, right where the concordant seed pulsed. "You are possible. I am chosen." Light exploded, not with violence, but with release. The mirrored Aldric broke apart in strands of memory, unraveling into wind. The bridge calmed. The gate behind him opened, mechanical roots twisting aside, revealing not a city, not a star, but a cradle of echoes, spinning in void. From within, something began to wake. Chapter 8, The Child Beneath the Star. Beyond the gate, the air changed. It no longer held the scent of ash or the weight of memory. Instead, it smelled like something older than death. Birth. The chamber within was spherical, a perfect sphere suspended in the endless void, as if carved from the last breath of a god. Its walls were translucent, veined with glowing runes that pulsed with heartbeat rhythm. In its center, hovering inches above a bed of silver moss, was a cocoon. Not plant. Not crystal. Not flesh. All three. The cocoon was wrapped in threads of root light, ink, and celestial silk that shimmered with names never spoken. Inside, curled in fetal stillness, was a child, genderless, luminous, limbs half-formed, and eyes closed. Its heartbeat reverberated across the room in slow, seismic waves. Aldric stepped forward, his voice cracking. "It's the seed. The concordant seed." Euphoria shook her head. "No. It's what the seed was protecting. This is the result. The Echoborn." Sabrine's face went pale. "A child grown from time and story?" Brockries whispered, "Or a weapon?" From the shadows, a voice slithered into hearing. "Or both." They turned. Standing near the curve of the chamber was a tall, pale figure in dark robes sewn with hourglass bones. Their face was smooth, like carved wax, and their eyes glowed with the light of accusation. "I am the chronophage, warden of the Echo Cradle. You have opened what should remain closed." Kaelin stepped between the child and the figure, blades drawn. "Who created this?" "No one," the chronophage replied. "Or everyone. The hollow star birthed it from your trespasses, from your betrayals, from the echoes you left behind." Evelyn's voice was cold. "So it's our fault." The chronophage nodded. "And your responsibility. This child will rewrite time, if allowed to live. Your war is no longer one of swords and rebellion. It is now one of memory versus meaning." The cradle began to pulse faster. The child stirred, opened one eye, and looked directly at Aldric. A single word entered his mind, not spoken, not shouted. Only felt. "Father." And with that, the hollow star began to tremble. Chapter 9, The Starquake. The walls of the cradle pulsed once. Then again, harder. A low, bone-deep rumble rose from beneath the reality beneath their feet, and the hollow star above began to tremble. Not explode. Not collapse. Awaken. Fractures laced across the void sphere like veins in ancient glass. Runes stuttered. The translucent chamber flickered between moments. 1 second it was a womb of light, the next, a battlefield drenched in time blood, the next, a cradle floating in silence. Aldric staggered. The child's gaze still held him. His voice was a whisper. "What are you?" The child's mouth didn't move. But the answer unfolded in images. Evelyn kneeling on a cliffside of ash, holding a blade made of Aldric's spine. Kaelin crowned in chains, wings burned to stumps. Euphoria drowning in light, hands cupped around a screaming son. Brockries, gone. Sabrine, eyes hollow, whispering to a cathedral built from Aldric's regrets. The child was not a being. It was a future. Grown sentient, choosing its shape. The chronophage raised its hand, invoking a glyph of binding. This must be stopped. If it awakens fully, all timelines collapse into the strongest. All choice dies. Aldric stepped in front of the cocoon. "And you assume your judgment is purer than its possibility?" "It was not born. It was harvested," the chronophage snapped. "From your sins." The hollow star began to descend, slowly, like a dead god lowering its crown. Starlight bled in spirals. Kaelin shouted, "Something's breaking." "Not just here, everywhere." Evelyn braced herself. "Then someone better choose. Save it, or kill it." Aldric looked at the child. He saw not a savior. Not a weapon. Just a beginning. "I won't make this choice in panic," he said. "I'll make it in hope." He drew his blade. And cut his own palm, spilling map blood across the cradle floor. The starlight surged. The child reached for it. And the star screamed. Chapter 10, Collapse of the Hollow Star. The scream of the hollow star wasn't sound, it was light flayed raw. It peeled across dimensions, folding space like torn parchment. The cradle shuddered, ruptured, then dissolved into strands of molten radiance. All around them, the walls of the realm disassembled themselves into unfinished sentences of reality, scrawled in ink and memory. The child rose, suspended in the torrent, limbs outstretched. Aldric's blood still clung to its fingertips, glowing brighter than the void. The chronophage fell to its knees. No, no, no. The structure won't hold. The veils are thin. Let them tear, Aldric said, voice low, arms shielding his companions. The child opened its eyes fully now. Both pupils contained galaxies. Its first breath was not air, but declaration. And the hollow star exploded inward, collapsing into the child's chest, fusing into the echo of a heart. The sky inverted. The ground lifted. The threads of the labyrinth, the bridge, the gates, all folded together into a single convergence. A singularity of potential. Time cracked. A tower rose from the event, no bricks, no bones, just decision, woven into spires. A throne formed at its apex, forged from all the moments the heroes nearly failed. Sabrine stood breathless. It's rewriting everything. Evelyn wiped tears from her face. Or giving us the chance to write something new. Brockries looked at Aldric. Well? Aldric turned to the child. Lead us. The child blinked once. Then smiled. And everything went white. Chapter 11, The Spiral Sigil. They wandered beneath the scar of what the hollow star had been. In its place hung a bleeding aperture in the heavens, its edges fraying like thread pulled from divine cloth. It pulsed not with heat, but with directionless gravity, and Aldric felt it dragging on the map beneath his skin. It wasn't over. Not yet. The group stood before a ruin where the ground folded into itself like a collapsed lung. At the heart of the crater was a sigil carved in spirals, endless, recursive, interlocked. Its lines were burned into the world, miles wide, pulsing with heatless light. Euphoria stepped toward it and nearly collapsed. Sabrine caught her. What is it? Not a symbol, Euphoria said, her breath shaking. It's a summons. To those who've broken time. The wind shifted. A voice echoed, not loud, not whispered. It was simply there. You are not meant to unbind the hollow star. A figure emerged from the spiral's center. Not a person. A construct made of robes, bone, and speaking runes. Its face was an hourglass. Within, instead of sand, dripped withered memories. The figure bowed. I am Sarnix, final custodian of the Spiral Archive. Kalen stepped forward. What archive? Sarnix lifted a hand. From the spiral, towers began to rise, ruined, spectral, collapsing as fast as they formed. The memories of every world erased by hope. The price of possibility. Evelyn unsheathed her dagger. Then we're done paying. Sarnix tilted its head. If only it were that simple. Chapter 12, The Dream Archive. They followed Sarnix into the Spiral Archive, each step taking them through walls that changed between stone, mirror, and bleeding paper. The halls were lined with cages, each containing a dream. Some were beautiful. A city of laughing children and flame-kissed skies. A lover cradling a corpse that whispered forgiveness. A knight climbing an impossible mountain made of his father's regrets. Others were monstrous. A god devouring its own crown. A man made of mouths, screaming every promise he ever broke. A child nursing at the teat of a dead star. These are the futures, Sarnix said, that were never allowed to be born. Aldric's breath caught. One of the cages showed his mother, young, alive, singing to him. She had never survived his childhood in this timeline. She had died screaming. He reached for the cage. Sarnix's hand caught his. If you open that, she will be real. But you will not. Aldric let go. Why are you showing us this? Sabrine demanded. Because the child you saved, the Echoborn, is beginning to choose. If it selects the wrong dream, reality will collapse into a lie. One cage will become truth. The rest will rot. Kalen scowled. So how do we stop it? Sarnix pointed toward the final hall. You don't. You simply witness. The final corridor was open, and inside, a cocoon of light pulsed in sync with the stars. The Echoborn was dreaming. And its dream had teeth. Chapter 13, The Dream with Teeth. At the end of the archive, the walls faded into nothingness. There was no sky. No ground. Only silence, dense and absolute. In the center floated the Echoborn, suspended in a fetal arc of light. Its skin shimmered with glyphs too old to be written, its breath exhaled stardust, and its eyes, still shut, flickered with shifting visions. And around it, forming in orbit like moons, were fragments of reality not yet chosen, entire cities of crystal, skies choked with wings, oceans that hissed like serpents. Dreams, feral, alive. The child murmured in its sleep. And one of the dreams came closer. It had teeth. Not literal. Not bone. Decisions sharpened into inevitability. A realm where love was illegal, where time marched backward and burned the past, where identity was scripted by law and rewritten each dawn. A place that promised order, at the cost of every unpredictable breath. Kalen inhaled sharply. It's choosing stability. Not life. Sabrine growled. It's choosing tyranny. Aldric stepped closer, map runes on his skin flaring. Because that's what it knows. We gave it our pain. Our regrets. It doesn't understand freedom yet. Sarnix hovered nearby. No dream is perfect. The child must be taught. Or you may enter, and be chosen by it. Enter? Evelyn asked. You mean step into a dream? No. Step into the mind that makes the dream. Risk your form. Risk your truth. The others looked at Aldric. He nodded once. I'll go. He approached the Echoborn. The dream with teeth hovered just above it, purring like a storm. Aldric reached out. And was swallowed whole. Chapter 14, Inside the Dream That Bites. It did not feel like falling. It felt like being rewritten. Aldric opened his eyes into a sky made of parchment, each cloud a half-erased sentence. Rain fell in droplets shaped like nooses. The world beneath him was not earth, not realm, but principle. Everything he saw was constructed from rules the dream enforced, symmetry without soul, purpose without passion, control without care. He stood in a city of mirrors, but no one had a reflection. Each person moved like a clock hand, measured, repetitive, obedient. Their eyes were flat pools of gray. Their smiles were assigned. He tried to speak. No sound came. The dream pressed into his lungs, forcing him to conform. It wanted him to forget rebellion, forget choice, forget that he had ever doubted a king or kissed someone he wasn't told to. He touched the map etched across his skin, it was still there, faint and glowing. Memory. Anchor. You are not a dream, he whispered. You are a child. In front of him, the mirrored street cracked. A boy stepped through. 10 years old. Bald. Eyes like galaxies slowly closing. The Echoborn inside its own imagining. It looked at him. Why did you make me choose? Aldric stepped forward carefully. Because not choosing means you were never real. But I could end pain. I could make a world where no one hurts. Where everyone obeys. Isn't that better? Only if you don't value music. Or laughter. Or chaos. Or the right to say no. The child hesitated. In the distance, the dream roared. Buildings reshaped into prisons. The sky turned red. They are afraid of me, the child said. Aldric knelt. So was I. Until I realized I wasn't afraid of what you were. I was afraid of what I'd make you become. The boy blinked. And smiled. The dream cracked. Then shattered. Light spilled through. Chapter 15, The Choice That Rewrote the Stars. The sky broke like old glass, and Aldric tumbled through brilliance. There was no ground. No sky. No breath. Only decision. The Echoborn hovered before him, not as child or weapon, but as a being of starlight wrapped in memory and flame, its form shifting between faces, his, Evelyn's, Kaelin's, Sabrine's, Ethoria's, all the people who had shaped it with love, fear, rebellion, grief. A voice echoed, not from the Echoborn's lips, but from everywhere. You gave me your maps. Your lies. Your dreams. What should I make of them? Aldric stood tall. Make a beginning. Silence. Then, you will not see it. The world I make. I don't need to, he said. I only needed to prove that you could choose it. The being pulsed once. The archive collapsed in golden smoke. The threads of every dream it had consumed burned away. And where time had split before, it now spiraled inward. A single timeline not built by fate or war or prophecy, but by the child who had been asked to decide. Outside, the others saw the Echoborn rise from its cocoon, light spilling from its body like truth finally freed. The hollow star, once a prison, now reassembled itself into something new. Not a weapon. Not a god. But a sky. And from it rained flowers made of frozen light, each one etched with runes none could read. Aldric collapsed, eyes open, body steaming with memory. Evelyn caught him. He's breathing, she whispered. He came back. The Echoborn looked down at them. It said nothing. But it knelt. Then rose. And walked into the new dawn it had made, leaving footprints that glowed with every story that had come before. Chapter 16, The Garden Where Time Forgot. Weeks passed. Or perhaps years. In the new reality the Echoborn had sown, time moved like a wounded creature, uncertain, stuttering, learning how to breathe again. There were days of light without sun, and nights painted by stars that had never existed before. Aldric, still recovering, was drawn to a place the others called the Garden Where Time Forgot. It wasn't marked on any map, not even the fading runes on his chest. It simply existed, nestled between cliffs that hadn't been there yesterday. There, trees bloomed with hourglass fruit. Vines whispered names of the unborn. The grass hummed lullabies older than sleep. Evelyn joined him beneath a tree that swayed without wind. Her voice was softer now. Do you think we're meant to rest? Aldric didn't answer right away. Maybe. Or maybe we're meant to witness something growing, without needing to shape it. They held hands under the tree. And for once, neither reached for a weapon. Chapter 17, The Feast of Echoes. The world had begun celebrating itself. In the newly risen city of Namara, built atop the bones of ruined prophecies, people gathered not for war, but for remembrance. The Feast of Echoes, they called it, a celebration of all paths that could have been, all fates that never came to pass. Sabrine stood before a brazier, holding a scroll she had never dared read. It bore her brother's final words, retrieved from the dream archive. She burned it. Not to forget, but to let go. Nearby, Kaelin danced with children wearing feathered masks. They called him the Wingless Wind, and for once he didn't correct them. Aldric raised a toast. To the futures we didn't choose, he said. And the ones we still might. Chapter 18, The Cradle Beneath the Sea. While exploring the shores near Namara, Ethoria found it, a hidden inlet where the tide whispered in binary, and the water reflected things that weren't there. Beneath the waves, buried in coral and forgotten iron, lay the cradle beneath the sea, a vault of relics that had survived even the collapse of the hollow star. Inside, they discovered fragments of pre-apocalypse AI, shards of the god machine Luma's memory cores. But something else stirred. A metal seed. Pulsing. Breathing. It's still dreaming, Ethoria whispered. Or remembering us, said Aldric. Chapter 19, The Veil of Returning. The peace would not last. Across the plains of dusk glass, beneath a twilight that never fully ended, cracks began to appear in the Veil of Returning, a barrier the Echoborn had formed to separate the new world from the residue of the old. From those cracks came whispers. Shapes. Shadowed figures in rusted armor and sigil-shattered masks. They did not speak in tongues. They spoke in memories. Twisted ones. Don't you miss who you were? Sabrine stood at the edge of the veil one night, sword drawn. I killed that version of me, she said aloud. A voice answered from beyond the veil. Then let us show you who still remembers her. Chapter 20, The Return of the First Dreamer. The world began with a scream. The new one began with a breath. But from the fracture in the veil, something older than either emerged. The first dreamer, the one whose mind had birthed the original hollow star, returned, not as flesh, but as concept. A shape given form by unresolved memory. A sovereign of unfinished dreams. It took the form of a cloaked figure with an infinite face, one that showed a different regret to every person who looked upon it. Aldric saw himself burning the world for love. Evelyn saw a child left behind. Kalen saw wings broken by his own hand. The dreamer spoke. This new world is still my story. And in the sky, the stars began to rearrange. Not by chance, but by script. The final war was not over territory or power. It was over the right to write the next sentence. Chapter 21, The Ink of Unmaking. The stars dripped. Not with light, but with ink, dark and slow, like grief in liquid form. Where each drop landed, the world forgot something, a road vanished, a name dissolved, a kiss lost to silence. The first dreamer walked at the center of this erasure, rewriting the sky with hands made of unfinished endings. Aldric stood at the foot of the cradle tree in Namara, runes on his chest flickering like dying embers. He's not destroying, said Euphoria. He's editing. Sabrine ground her teeth. How do we fight a quill? Evelyn stepped forward, pulling from her satchel a knife inked with the memory of her father's death, a blade forged in one world, carried into another, never truly forgotten. We don't fight his words, she said. We give him new ones. Chapter 22, The Scribe's Duel. Atop the amphitheater of the blank page, where the stones echoed with untold stories, Aldric faced the first dreamer. One held a blade of lived memory. The other, a quill made of unwritten sorrow. You think rebellion earned you authorship? The dreamer asked. Aldric didn't answer. He opened his arms. From the crowd, others joined, Kalen, Sabrine, Evelyn, Euphoria. Each brought forward an object that had no right to still exist. A torn cloak with the scent of ash and hope. A ring given and broken. A song hummed by someone long dead. A piece of skin, once mapped, now blank. They laid them before the dreamer. And waited. The dreamer hesitated. These are contradictions. They're truths, Aldric said. You can't edit the world and expect it to love you back. Chapter 23, The Collapse of the Scripted Sky. With a scream that sounded like a pen snapping, the first dreamer faltered. His form unraveled into letters, runes, unfinished dialogue, pages of self-justification burned away in violet fire. Above them, the stars pulsed one final time. Then broke apart into rivers of light. The scripted sky collapsed, not in ruin, but in release. And something ancient slipped free. Not a god. Not a monster. Just a world that had never been allowed to imagine itself. Chapter 24, The Hollow Star Reforged. The Echoborn returned, no longer child, not quite god. They were now witness, not warden. They raised their hands, and from the ruin of the sky, the hollow star reforged itself, not as a prison, but as a compass. It did not shine from above. It hovered over every person's heart. The world would no longer be guided by prophecy or forgotten gods, but by choice, story, and remembrance. Chapter 25, Epilogue, The World After Ink. The seasons returned. Mountains breathed. Rivers hummed. Trees remembered how to dance. In a small stone house on the edge of the Mirrorwood, Aldric wrote, not prophecy, not law. Just memory. Sabrine trained a new guard, not for war, but for watchfulness. Kaelin flew again. Evelyn painted the sky with inks that glowed only under moonlight. And far in the horizon, the veil stood intact, quiet. Sleeping. For now. Because the hollow star was no longer hollow. It was full. Of beginnings. Of echoes. Of you.